We are delighted that you're joining us for another podcast of Wake Up Aligned, and it is the podcast for chiropractors, where we get to talk about chiropractic lifestyle, and topics of interest. You can contact us through our email, and that is mailbag@amcfamily.com. Welcome back to another episode of Wake Up Aligned. Our purpose with this is to equip you, empower you, and inspire you. And we hope to do that by talking about chiropractic, the chiropractic lifestyle, and really topics of interest to chiropractors. With me today is my good friend, Tom Owen. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Dr. Shannon. Great to be here with you.
Appreciate that. Great to be here with you as well. I know you and I are excited because we have a what we call a summit training weekend approaching in September, mid-September coming up, and we've got some things that we have been working on through our team members to revamp and relight some of the content that we've been sharing, and I think we want to talk about that today. But there's a lot of people that don't know where that class came from. And I think it'd be nice to tell the backstory for just a few minutes about that class that we call Core 2, right? Because it's had a lot of names through the years. You know, when I went through it 20 years ago, it was more the essence of it all, right? So if you can, I'd like for you to share the story of that class and just how it's evolved and been modified and improved through the years.
Well, Dr. Shannon, when you talk about that content, this might surprise you. I'll be happy to try to explain some of the backstory of it, but the surprise to you would be of everything that's inside what we know as the AMC or Align system. If you asked Tom Owen and said, okay, you don't get to utilize the whole system. You only get to utilize a portion. What portion do you want to take with you and establish and grow? Not just in practice, but in just overall. What do you want to base it all on? And I would tell you, you can have the procedures. You can have the various management factors. And this isn't just a theory. I'll walk you through the results of it, but I will take always the content that's within what we currently call Core 2, but the essence of it all. That was the reason it's called that, because if you get your principles, if you get the principles of life in place, if you get your thoughts in order, if you get your attitudes in order, if you get your choices in order, you get all these factors, the conceptual factors. That's what that class is really about. And there's a rule that says that you can't outgrow a concept. See, Dr. Shannon, you can't outgrow it. You know, Ryan here in the studio with us, he can't outgrow his concepts any more than I can outgrow the concepts of what it's like to be a Navy pilot, right? He has conceptual aspects that an understanding that I can't understand. And until you dive into the depths of that content, you can't conceive and think on that same level, and you can't have that same understanding. So as far as the history of it goes, I mean, you're talking about the geniuses of the past that took principles, the timeless principles, because so many of those principles are, even biblical principles. But then it took the legends and the geniuses to put it in a systematic approach to where you could relate with it and understand it better. So, when I see things like, I can just see that Coke can up there on the podium, right? That's such a deep-rooted concept that is so true that you can actually apply and live, teach that to your kids and know darn well that I'm preparing my kids for a future of success and prosperity from a Coke can, right? But it's the Coke can tells a story. It lets you know something. And when you see it, it immediately reminds you of those facts, right? And I can go down the list, right? The inside core 2, the whistle, that whistle, you're the referee of your own life. That seems so simple, right? But man, it's true at whatever level of life you're at. But when you get to, as you grow, that's why I have a whistle hanging from my rearview mirror in my truck, right? You have to apply that principle if you ever think you're going to outgrow certain stress points in life. So, I mean, I'd be happy to talk about the whole class. If you want to do an episode on Core 2, which is a horrible name for it, I'll be honest with you, because it is truly the essence of it all. I'll be happy to do that. And I think maybe we should sometime. But just the background of it is the genius of Dr. Owen and the genius of his mentors, and Ed Kramer and these names that, are synonymous with this material. But that's where it's at. And I'll circle back and hand it back to you right here. I will go that route. If you give me the choice, you take the procedures, I'll take the concepts, and I'm going to beat you every time. And I can just go down through the names. I don't want to embarrass anybody, but the people that I work with straight on, one-on-one, maybe some people would call them difficult cases. I don't ever teach or talk about a CER. I don't talk about a 5-point office visit. I don't talk about any of that stuff. If I can get your concepts right, and if I can get you thinking right, and if I can get those understandings at a certain level, the rest follows.
I'm laughing on my side because I'm thinking all of those people who they don't know who we are. They've never been in one of our classes, and they're thinking right now, Coke can? Whistle? What the heck is all that about? But see, those are props, I guess you would say, that illustrate a principle of life, a concept about how you live your life. And that's the powerful thing about that class. That's not a chiropractic class, right? That is a life class. And we hear time and time again stories of people bringing their young, teenage children there, or young adult children, or their staff members there, or their family members there. And their lives are transformed by learning those principles and those techniques and that essence of how to live the life and live up to the potential that God blessed you with. Right. So it just cracks me up to hear you say Coke can, like, yeah, everybody knows what the Coke can is. Well, I think everybody should, for sure.
I think everyone should. But here's the thing, Dr. Shannon. So many people get in AMC, right, in aligned. They get so focused on my answer is over there in Core 1 in those procedures, which a lot of the fundamentals are over there. And then they just get so wrapped up in, I want to be in depth and genius. It's got to be in the advanced material. It's got to be in the advanced material. But do you know what the most underutilized class is? The one that makes the biggest difference, which is Core 2. So when we say just a general term like Coke can, and we think everybody knows what the Coke can is in Aligned and AMC, I don't necessarily think everyone knows that, because I don't think everyone gives that class its due.
Agreed. It used to be part of every weekend that we had, every training weekend or 4-day training module we had. That was part of it. And you sat through it the first time and the 100th time, right? And I have never taught any of my children a consultation, an exam, a report, but I've taught them tons out of that essence of it all, or that core class. I think this builds up to getting it revamped yet again. And the whole reason that we do that, and honestly, it's Dr. Oz and Dr. Bill Creva who have really taken that on and taken that challenge to revamp it, re-energize it. That's what I'm looking for, just so it can be more resonant with people, right? Because if you don't apply it, that's where the frustration is going to come. There used to be up on the banner, information without implementation leads to frustration, failure, depression. And that's where we really want that class to be. We don't want to just entertain the folks. Oh, there's some really good life lessons there. No, this is for you to go home and apply today, tomorrow, the rest of your life. And I think that's where we're missing. Even the few people that attend the class, we just really need them. We want them to have better application of that after the fact, right?
Absolutely. And you go back to what you said. It used to be, and maybe we need to circle back to that. It used to be a part of, there was no such thing as separation of core 1 and core 2. It was all
there was no optional.
It was all a 3 to 4 day intense training, but we have tried to put it in bite-size application, not because any one of them's more important than the other, but because, the fact is the brain can absorb as much as the butt can endure. And if you're sitting in class, it becomes overwhelming. But again, Dr. Shannon, that's why you used to go through it not just one time, not 2 times. These people that go through these classes 1, 2 times, and okay, I'm ready for the advanced stuff. That brings up a total different subject that I would love to talk about on a future episode of Don't Kid Yourself.
Yeah, I knew where you were going with that, and Dallas, the Dr. Dallas Stroshine continues to pay dividends to this day.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. But the point is that the new revamped version is going to be launched in September, here coming up in just a few weeks. Am I correct on that?
That is correct.
Yeah,
yes,
and
sir.
on top of that, if I also want to point out to the listeners, especially all of you that are aligned members, let's get the calendar out right now. Literally, get your notepad out and circle those dates, because that September summit is a truly standalone meeting on the schedule. All right. Everyone's used to, they kind of get into that mode of, this class is going to be offered twice. It's going to be offered, in Atlanta, or it's going to be offered in Orlando. It's going to be offered in Kansas City, but they think they get multiple shots at it. This is a truly standalone meeting, because this content that's going to be covered in, yes, the Core 2 revamped with Dr. Osborne and Dr. Kriva leading that, but the Depth and Genius material is a one and done. And I know you can speak more on that, on what the content's going to be, because what the theme of the weekend is. But my point is, folks, right now, just stop what you're doing. Don't make an excuse. Make a commitment. I'm sorry, losers make excuses, winners make commitments. So whatever it takes, be at the September summit. It's not one to miss.
Absolutely right. Yeah, we very rarely have a one and done or a one-off type of meeting, but that's just the way the schedule will work this year. So, and I've been working with Dr. Tara on coordinating that content and the instructors, and I don't want to let the cat out of the bag too much. Let's just say that we have been working on having the people who have certain strengths come and present how to develop those strengths to everybody else, right? And I think we've never done something like that. Very excited about what that's going to do for the people in those classes. But this goes to a bigger story. We, with this rebrand that we did and this, all that came with that, we had a commitment to make our content impactful and make it something that was applicable in their lives. And we continue to revamp it and re-energize it. Not for us, right? That's a big pain in the butt for us, but it's for those users and those attendees and those members, those family members in AMC, so that they can get the very best benefit of all. So, it's a lot of work, but I'm glad we're doing it.
If I understand, the theme of the weekend is creating certainty out of uncertainty.
That's correct.
I know you don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but I don't know about you folks, but if I can have more certainty and less uncertainty in life, that is not something that I want to miss.
Amen. Amen. Speaking of certainty, do we have time to talk about what can be, what should be the biggest promotional event inside of a practice for the whole year? You think we have some time to talk about that today? It's called Patient Appreciation Days.
Well, I think that this is a perfect timing of this because, we're heading into, like we said, the September summit, which is going to be quickly followed up with the fall. And I know you just mentioned PAD, but just in general, the fall is the number one best time to start building in internal promotions. PAD being the absolute best of them. They're standalones, but there's a lot of stuff that you can do leading into the holidays. And, a lot of people think the holidays is when you take a breather and, and marketing doesn't necessarily work in the holidays. That is nonsense just because you don't understand it. There's concepts, right? Somebody that says that doesn't know what we know and doesn't have the concepts of understanding that October, November, and December should be some of your best internal promotion months of the year. So yeah, I think we have time to talk about it.
And I'll tell you how important it is. There's not one client, one family member on my roster that does $500,000 or more per year in gross revenue who doesn't do a PAD. That's how important it is. Now, you would think those are the offices, they don't need to do it, they don't have to do it, but they're doing it, and that should tell you something. So I know that there are people who listen to the broadcast or the podcast who don't know who we are, whatever. Just very quickly, let's set the stage on what a Patient Appreciation Days is all about. This is a referral generating event. It is potentially the biggest referral producing event that you can do in your marketing calendar, and you can do this twice a year. Optimum placement is right before the summer hits and right before the holidays hit at the end of the year. And the way that we do this is we coordinate a special day of appreciation and gratitude for all those established patients that have put their trust in us and allowed us to be successful and live our dream and live our purpose. And then we tie that to a new patient day or a new patient days to process the new patients in who are in need of help. And the great thing about this is it's a fundraiser for a worthy, needy cause in your community, right? Whether that's a food bank or the women's shelter or the children's home or whatever it may be, you get to decide where, who benefits. And I love that about it, Tom. I love that it's a win-win-win scenario like that because, there's not a lot of those opportunities in life. So there's just a very basic overview. Do you have anything to add to that before we get into more of the attitudes behind it?
Nothing other than, the term PAD or Patient Appreciation Day is kind of a general term. That's something that you'll hear in other places, but I think that's what you're probably wanting to dive into is number one, the planning that goes into it. But a general PAD that doesn't have the specifics lined up behind it will not be nearly as effective. And I know you and I over the years have worked with so many doctors and they'll come on with Aligned and say, oh yeah. I've done PADs before. Okay. Sorry, but that's like, some people would say, I've been to Hardee's, but you've never been to see Chick-fil-A, right? Hardee's versus Chick-fil-A, the food probably isn't all that much better, but the presentation and the execution, there's a big difference, right? So
that's right.
You're selling the same stuff, but there's a difference in the delivery and the results.
Yeah, there's a difference between sushi from a gas station and sushi on the coast, right?
I've yet to buy that sushi in the airport. I'm sorry. I just can't bring myself to do it.
You got it right. So let's talk just a little bit about doctor attitude, right? Let's just contrast two hypothetical people. We got one doctor who is, well, I've got this on the calendar. I'm going to do this event. You know, I'm a bit tired. I haven't had some downtime lately. The staff is not really energetic about it, but it's on the calendar. We're going to do it. And contrast that with the doctor who says, I'm excited about this. There are people in my community that need help. We have an opportunity to really meet a lot of new people, referrals who are our ideal patients, and we are really looking forward to this event. Now, I hope every listener can already tell the difference in the end result, the production, and the difference between those two people, right? That the second doctor, you know, is going to have much better results, even though they're both doing the same thing. They're going through the same processes. They're going through the same steps, because we're talking about what? Enthusiasm. And what's the phrase on enthusiasm, Tom?
A little low, no dough, right? Enthusiasm is the yeast that raises the dough.
You
a little
got it
low,
right.
No dough. Yeah.
And I've run into that where a doctor is, you know, just going through the motions, and there's, you know, they're saying the right things, but there's just no life and no purpose and no intention behind it, and they just don't get the results that they should be getting. So I want to just park on enthusiasm for a minute. We want to plan this PAD with enough time, with enough prep, so that you're not rolling into the event under stress or under pressure or under deadlines. I see some people try to scramble. They procrastinate, wait till the last minute. They roll into the event itself, and by the time they start talking it up, they are actually already spent emotionally because they've just been running around like a chicken with their head cut off. That is not the way to do this. We want to prep and have plenty of time so that we roll into that event and the time to promote it with peace and calmness, and we're excited about it. There's no pressure. There's no stress. We're not burned out. And that's why you want to have adequate prep time on this. I see some people try to do this in 3 weeks. It doesn't work like that. Even a veteran doctor who's done this event multiple times in their career, you're looking at about 6 to 8 weeks, right? That's the ideal prep time at minimum to get that thing produced. But once the clock starts ticking, once the decorations go up, the invitations go out, and the clock starts ticking, now it's all about the promotion, and that comes from enthusiasm. If you can't maintain a head of steam for the week or two that you're going to be promoting this event, you're going to have to do some real soul searching and some looking in the mirror. If you're only going to promote it for a couple of days because that's all you can generate, you already starting in a bad way, okay? And I've heard some people say, well, I want to modify this so it's a new patient month. Okay. You telling me you're going to have an enthusiastic approach for a full month with everything else that goes on in your month? There are some people who can do that. They're very high caliber. They got a great team, but that is not a good plan for most of us. Right, but that enthusiasm is so important, and it's not. You can't fake it.
Even if you have that, which I would rather not talk about the anomaly of the person that can do that over a month, but the person that can do that, it goes back to setting the planning and the expectation. Right, you're talking to do a PAD the way I'm thinking about a PAD. Right. There's two different concepts of PAD. There's one that's going to be very generic, and you're going to get generic results, which is what we said. It's not a term that's new to them. But if it's going to be what I'm conceiving a PAD, whether it's a day or a month, either way, it's going to come into the prep time and the expectations. See, you said enthusiasm. That's one word that starts with E. There's another word that starts with E, with expectations. You're talking about right now, as we go into September, actually probably middle of August, is when you should, if you're going to do something in mid-October, you're meeting with the staff once a week. Again, it kind of goes back to the machine only produces what the machine's prepared to fire, how the pistons are ready to fire. If you're not doing morning staff meetings, if you're not having weekly staff meetings and you're not creating a teamwork atmosphere, then the odds of getting that enthusiasm that we're talking about, that steam, pressure in the engine, is probably not going to build to that point of 2 weeks prior to where, okay, now it's time to promote it. Now it's time for the decorations to go up. No, it's an expectation that the team is setting 8 to 10 weeks out as the team starts coming together as, hey, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll get this ready. These are the expectations that we're going to roll into. Hey, these are the goals that we have. And when we reach these goals together, this is going to be the reward that we all celebrate together with, whether it's a big dinner out or if it's a big enough goal, then it's, a trip that we're going to take together. That all comes from setting expectations early and then planning as a team together leading up to what you're talking about, which is when the decorations go up. But you're right in the fact I would rather not talk about the person that's trying to do that over a month because, again, Dallas Stroshine strikes again. In most cases, you're kidding yourself. If you want to be successful, do what the successful do, right? And there's a reason why it is set the way it is. It's not something I just threw on the wall one day and said, hey, let's see if this sticks. No, when you've got thousands of clinics over time, you're able to perfect processes. And I'm telling you, if you do the PAD, and we don't have time to really teach the PAD on today's episode, that's what the audios are for, right? And I'm sure you'll give them lead into what audios they should go after right now. But if you don't put the application in and you don't put the expectations in, you're not going to get the results that we're talking about because you, like I said, do what the successful do and you'll be successful. And a good PAD, by the way, set it up for the 2 days. But Dr. Shannon, correct or not correct, just because I set it up for 2 days does not mean that I'm not, if I do it right, I'm not processing new patients 2 to 3 weeks later because of what we teach and how to apply it.
Absolutely correct. See, that's where people get very myopic in their thinking and their vision. I have 1 day for new patients. That's all I'm going to do. No, that's not how we do it, right? And that's not how it's taught. So if you are an AMC aligned member, do the PAD as outlined, as taught. Your starting point for you and your staff is called Tom's PAD. There's a special section devoted to PAD in our training library. And as you get closer to doing the event, the supercharge your PAD is the second one that you want everyone to listen to. You follow the advice on that is really timeless. You will have a great event, but you have to bring the enthusiasm and you have to bring the expectations. We can't do that for you. Now, if you're not an AMC aligned member and you don't know what our PAD is, well, you need to reach out to us because it is proven, it is tested, it is timeless, and it works time and time again. This thing has been working for decades, and it will continue to work for decades because the principles that it's founded on never change. Okay. So I know that we're running against the clock today, but Tom, do you have anything else on your side?
I would just encourage the listeners that are AMC aligned members, hey, right now is the time to be connecting with your mentor and say, okay, I was listening to the podcast. What are they talking about? If you've never done it and done it right, then that's something this week that you need to be talking to the mentor saying, how do I get this started? How do I get this rolling? So you can roll into, and by the way, PAD is just one piece of all the factors that should make your, what we call phenomenal fall. All right. There should be a marketing calendar there that you're working on that's really working on a 12-month basis, but we call fall phenomenal fall. and you're only going to have a phenomenal fall. I'm going to circle back to where we started. You'll only have a phenomenal fall with the level of commitment that you've got put into it. So I go back to listeners, you're hearing me. I don't blow smoke. You need to be at the September summit. This is going to be content that's going to bring certainty in a time of uncertainty. And we want to go into our fall to make it a phenomenal fall and be certain that it's going to be that. So I encourage everyone to be at the summit. And then I encourage everyone to kickstart right now. We're sitting here in August. Now's the time to be planning that phenomenal fall.
Absolutely. Well said. Whether it's the September summit, future summits, a PAD event, or anything, the purpose behind it, never lose sight of this, folks. The purpose behind it is there are people in your community who are sick and suffering and losing hope, and you have a knowledge and a skill and a gift that can be of help to them and make their future more certain as well. We will see you on the next podcast. Until then, God bless. And one more thing before we go. If you're a chiropractor who's searching for a better way to build a more sustainable, low-stress practice, then you can contact us at amcfamily.com. You can schedule a discovery session, or you can access any of our free content, webinars, podcasts, and the like.